Those who succeed in business and other facets of life will tell you there are absolutes. Never let them see you sweat, never back up, and never apologize. One man embodies it all at the moment. By the time we get to the POTUS election next year, guaranteed we will be hip deep in talk about No Child Left Behind, as it should be. Talk to the man who created it and now wants it changed. She is the only current Democratic candidate to take shots at, so Hillary Clinton's providing plenty of fodder with comments that make her just another victim. Wait until Dick Morris weighs in. And in telling it like it is, the foe, worse than ISIS and Al-Qaeda, the issue more important than immigration or a flag. Let me deal with the real enemy from within America. Buckle up. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Thursday, July 9th, 2015.
This man, or this animal, that shot the wonderful, that beautiful woman in San Francisco, this guy was pushed out by Mexico. We bring him back and they push him out. Mexico pushes back people across the border that are criminals, that are drug dealers.
It was inevitable. Sooner or later, the high hats of the Republican National Committee were going to be forced to get in touch with Donald Trump and ask him nicely if he wouldn't mind backing off the bluster just a tick and stop taking all the air out of the room as we head towards Iowa, New Hampshire, and 2016. What was also somewhat inevitable was the Donald's response. And therein lies the latest and greatest in the saga of the man who would be president, and in the minds of many may have already cemented his position as a man to be feared. We lead off today with the political animal and other men who need to be feared. Ford O'Connell is the steady and guiding hand as veteran Republican strategist. J.D. Gins is the equally steady and guiding hand as the veteran Democratic strategist. Meaning in the next few minutes, we will supply Mr. Trump and the GOP with all the common sense answers that they need. Gentlemen, you have now been put on notice. Ford, let's go ahead and start with you. Donald Trump says Reince Priebus did not call me to admonish me. He called me to congratulate me and didn't tell me to tone it down. Either way, it would seem to me that maybe Reince Priebus has got a point. Mr. Trump, take it easy.
Absolutely, Reince Priebus has a point. The bottom line is that Donald's sucking all the oxygen out of the room from Fox News to Newsmax. And herein lies my concern with the Donald. Being right doesn't win elections, even though he may be focused on some of the right issues. Perception actually wins elections. And right now, we have two candidates in the top tier, Scott Walker and Marco Rubio, who nobody in the Republican primary really knows about. They have a chance to be the nominee, and basically we're focused on Trump 24/7. The other thing is he's also providing fodder and slime for Hillary Clinton in the general election to basically tie all the Republican candidates to Donald Trump. And that's my problem with Mr. Trump.
But Reince, Reince, I'm not going to call you Reince on this one here. I'll go to Ford instead. Here's the thing about Reince Priebus. He says this to Trump, yet the media doesn't like the treatment that Donald is getting right now. They seem to agree with him, Ford, that illegals do bring crime, and he's coming up in the polls. So despite the fact that you might not like what he's saying, isn't he at least starting a conversation one way or the other?
Ed, I didn't say that Donald Trump wasn't talking about the right issues, whether it's illegal immigration, trade, or China. My problem is he's talking about it in all the wrong ways, and most voters don't follow this stuff very closely, and they have the average attention span of 30 seconds. And my problem with the mainstream media is this is clickbait for them. Every time Donald Trump's name is in a headline, guess what? It brings eyeballs, and unfortunately, I got to win a presidency in 2016 because there's no way in hell that I can allow Obama's apprentice-in-chief, Hillary Clinton, to walk right back in the front door at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
J.D., from your side then, are Democratic strategists and other people on the other side, like Hillary and so many others, are they just salivating every time Donald Trump says something?
I am, and I'm kind of excited. And I'm really surprised the Republican Party seems so confused about this. All he's done is taken what they've been packaging for the last decade, fear-mongering about the border and about immigrants, and saying it in a soundbite. He's a TV personality. Of course he's going to be good at saying these soundbites. And yet, now the Republican Party seems a little surprised. This is a beast of their own making, and it's a real thing. He's actually leading in polls. He's leading in North Carolina now, and they're going to have to figure it out. The problem is what appeals to the Republican base is far outside of the mainstream of what's going to win this election. The Republican Party knows that. The Republican Party establishment knows that. Whether the base wants to accept it or not is a big question. But nobody should be surprised that Donald Trump is doing such a great job right now.
But, J.D., hang on a second, Ford. I know you're right there.
This is exactly
1 second.
my point J.D.'s making
Ford.
right here. Democrats don't win elections based on issues. They don't win elections based on conversations. They win elections based on sliming the Republicans because, again, it's not about being right. It's not about talking about the issues. It's about perception, and that's what the Democrats are really good at contorting.
J.D., for all you just said and for all that Ford just answered, though, let me just make this point. Isn't it fair to say that when you talk about immigration, you can say fear-mongering all you want, but in the same breath, there is a problem in immigration. Immigration reform is not happening. America has said time and time again in a number of polls that they want something done here. So is he not at least getting this conversation rolling to where, agree with him or not, the GOP is going to be able to say, you're right, immigration is what we have to focus on here, and it's what America wants?
I think the Democratic Party is absolutely happy to talk about robust immigration reform. The reason it is not happening is because the Republicans in Congress refuse to do anything. They refuse to even come to the table. And on top of that, they want to talk about building border walls and being afraid of immigrants and really making a big bunch of hoopla over something that's not quite so strong when they could just come to the table and we could talk about slowing illegal immigration by talking about actually fixing our legal immigration system. That's what this is all about.
Totally not true, J.D. That is complete hogwash. We have 200 sanctuary cities across this country in 33 states. You guys basically decide you don't like the law. We have 347,000 criminal aliens running free in the U.S. We have people getting killed every day, and all you want to do is make people legal. You don't want to secure the border. You don't want to protect the American people, and that's a good thing that Donald Trump's bringing up, but the problem is he's just not the right guy to do it.
J.D., I got to tell you, that's the perception that America hits right here every time they hear it. There's still nothing being done, and they come right back to the Democrats and they say, wait a minute, you love having them in the country here. It's your fault. So how do you answer that, though? Because it is a fair cop.
Sure. So we have a lot of illegal immigrants in this country doing a lot of work that Americans don't want to do. They're picking grapes for our wine industry. They're picking fruit for the entire country.
Yeah, but that doesn't
they make
answer
our
the
corporate
question.
America go. And we don't have a legal immigration system that keeps up with that. So right now we have a lot of people in the business community who also rely on this labor. So it's not just fear-mongering, it's a reality-based approach.
J.D., time out 1 second. 3/4 of all federal drug sentences in 2014 were committed by illegal aliens in terms of possession, and 1/3 of all federal criminal sentences were committed by illegal aliens. Are you serious? You can't sit here and tell me this. I do agree that we need a rational immigration policy, but you're only focusing on half the argument. You're not recognizing the totality of the circumstances.
I think that the arrest of illegal immigrants and drugs, which are actually a limited number in the big picture, have a lot more to do with the failed war on drugs. If we want to be serious about that, then let's do what Colorado has done and legalize marijuana and take a big bite.
Wait a minute, JD. Hang on.
What do you say to Kate Steinley's family in San Francisco? What do you say to the situation of the family in Arizona? What do you say about the woman who got gunned down in Texas? That just happened this week, and I promise you this has been going on for quite some time.
You know, like there's a lot of murders with guns all the time in this country. I think it's horrible. What happened in San Francisco is horrible. But we don't need to victimize, we don't need to use the entire immigrant community as scapegoats because of one person.
But wait a minute, JD, I'm going to go ahead and get involved here.
I
don't think we're using the entire immigrant community. What we're talking about are the criminals, the ones who are free. We're not talking about every single immigrant into this country. And isn't it a fact that if one person dies from the gun that is held by an illegal immigrant, that is one person too many?
I don't know. Why is it when one person dies from a gun in a mass shooting and it's not an illegal immigrant, do we do nothing?
No. Wait a minute, please. Just answer that question. Isn't it fair to say that if it is an illegal, who does it? Let's just focus on that right now. If you've got 100 things, let's take care of one here, okay? If you have that illegal with a gun, isn't it fair to say that one person dying at that hand is too many, correct?
I think it's an important distinction to make that is not the entire immigrant community. It is a terrible thing.
No one is saying
that. In San Francisco. It is definitely a terrible thing.
We are talking about 347,000 criminal illegals running free in the United States right now. That is not the illegal immigrant community. That's not the immigrant community. This is a crime problem, and the president's job, the governor's jobs, and the mayor's jobs is to protect the American people, and right now you just decide to turn a blind eye to it.
When we have gun shooting deaths and it's just one person, you all don't claim we should just revamp the entire gun laws. In this circumstance, We have one person who did something. I don't think it's an indictment of the entire immigrant community.
All right,
but
we're going to have to stop it there.
My feelings are with the
guys
family.
don't
I
have
will
your
point
talking
out
point
this
straight
again.
to the
We are
DNC.
not
Good job.
indicting the entire immigrant community. I think that needs to be made clear, very clear, as a matter of fact. Gentlemen, J.D., Ford, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friends. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again, guaranteed. All right, now let's go ahead and talk to the American people, because there are questions that need to be asked, what we have just talked about. Let's go ahead and talk about a simple poll. Donald Trump continues to gain in the polls. Would you vote for him, yes or no? Go to newsmaxpolls.com. Tell us exactly what you think, and we will talk about it right here. Stay with us. Numbers that tell us almost everything we need to know about the POTUS landscape on the Hardline.